guess I'll get ahead and get started. Thanks for everyone for coming. My name is Jimmy McDonough, and I just want to, again, thank everyone. I was asked to talk today by Jennifer, the curator for this nice gallery, and so I said, yeah, sure. So, you know, I didn't think she'd sign me up for such a nice time slot, but it's all good. So then she changed the time slot and told me that they were going to be taping, so that shot up the nervous notch a couple more, you know, but it's okay. So I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about is my piece that's actually on exhibit in this show, which is this piece right here. And as you may have noticed that this is the Sugar and Spice exhibit. And it's kind of funny how this came about. Last December, a friend of mine had his place burglarized, and they stole his guitars and some amps and stuff, and I had that on my mind quite a bit, you know. And as we were heading out to go have coffee, Jennifer stopped and said, "Hey, are you going to get something in the show?" And I was like, "Well, what is it about?" She's like, "It's a Sugar and Spice." And I thought about, you know, this thing that happened to my friend was heavily on my mind. And then she said it could be about slavery, and I instantly had an idea to make something like this out of clay, and had an idea of what I wanted to do, how I wanted to fire it and everything, and it worked out surprisingly well. So yeah, she was pleased too, you know. So anyway, I wanted to, the reason I chose that is because, well, the name of the piece is Ancient Property Securing Device. And so I had a connection between property and slavery. So that was that. And so I also wanted to say that I was telling my friend how it seems that this life often, at least it seems to me, that it is a lesson in humility and in detachment. And I mentioned to him that, you know, we can all relate to, like, when people get their stuff ripped off, you know, whether it's from your car, your house, or whatever, and or, you know, from your person. And but when you steal from an artist, you know, it potentially has a point or a way of impacting all of humanity, I think, you know, because it maybe takes away from what could have been, like if you steal their tools especially. So so that's how that piece came about. And then so next I wanted to talk about some trips I took back in the 90s. One was to New Mexico, and I found myself in the middle of this field over by the Rio Grande, and I came across this outcropping of rocks. And I was doing photography and stuff at the time, so I thought, well, I'm going to climb up there and see if I could get a vantage point or something. And so when I got up there, there was all these petroglyphs that were just amazing. And it really humbled me. And I felt a connection somehow to these ancient artists that put those there, these images that I was admiring. And it really touched me somehow. And so it was another place I went that, you know, I've never forgotten that experience. And also I went to Berkeley one time, and I came across this ceramic studio at UC Berkeley, and I saw these amazing sculptural pieces, and I was struck by them so much. It occurred to me that, you know, ceramics at that point for me is a very valid art form and not just a craft. So I think I was hooked then to make sure somehow I got back into clay. And so, you know, throughout the, we all have our favorite artists and stuff. I mean, some of mine that I draw ideas from are Picasso and Alexander Calder, and this guy named Zeke Berman, which is a photographer and a scholar, professor somewhere back east. But he does these interesting sculptural pieces and photographs that I really like. Check them out if you get a chance. But my most favorite artists of all are the ones that we don't even know their names. These ones like in caves, cave paintings and things like that. So so I'm gonna kind of talk about this little piece. It's just something I felt like I wanted to just scribble. I had some ideas about doing some pieces that simulated an homage, if you will, or just a respect for the artwork that they did, I guess, and maybe do some of it, try to. So that's kind of how that came about. And so now I'm going to shift gears a little bit, but I did want to say that in all my work, I want to somehow, in my heart of hearts, I hope that I somehow make these ancestors that have inspired me so much somehow proud, you know? So anyway, so now I want to talk about this group of artists I've been fortunate enough to fire with, the wood fire, pottery, a couple of different kilns, but one's at this guy, Steve Sowers, who's a pretty well-known potter and artist. But his wife at the time was a librarian, and or at least she worked at the library over there in Kitsap County. And she had this picture book, this photo documentary book of these indigenous peoples from all over the world. It was really interesting to me, and they were really colorfully ordained, or not ordained, but they were just colorfully decorated with all these feathers and paints, stuff like that. So right before that, I had come across all these silk screens that were about to find their way to a landfill that I liberated. And I had the idea then that I was going to find something to paint. Well, as soon as I saw this book, I knew. So I went home and I started right away doing all these paintings. And I came up with a series, and this is an example from that series. And it helped me to realize that, you know, I should maybe continue painting. You know, there's some skill there, I think. So anyway, so that's what I kind of did, and I finished up, painted all the silk screens, and then, you know, that was kind of that, and I left it alone for a while. But then one time I had this dream, and it really made a huge impact in my life. And I'm going to try to summarize it, but even though it could go long-winded. But basically, I was a really powerful king in this far-off land, and I had all this land for as far as you could see in all directions. And I was having a nice siesta. I was sleeping in this dream, and I was dreaming of this wonderful young maiden I was playing with, and she was making me laugh like I had never laughed. And then this lowly servant came and woke me up from my wonderful sleep, and I got really mad at him, you know, and I said, look, you made me lose this wonderful vision. You need to go and bring it back to me what you lost. And he's like, oh. And then all of a sudden in the dream, I shifted from the big chief to that guy. And so I was like, oh, and I felt the fear of being banished from the community. And so I was like, I went out for a while and I looked around. I was looking for any kind of signs or tracks or anything. But before I left, I was like, well, what was it? You know, what was it you had a vision of? He's like, I'm not telling you, just go find it. So that's what I did, and I went and looked, and I came back, and after a long wait, I finally got an audience with this powerful king. And he's like, well, did you bring it? And I said, well, no, I couldn't find any sign of anything, you know. He's like, you don't understand, you know, you're not welcome here until you go out and find this that you lost and bring it back. Until then, you're not welcome here. And so that meant, you know, no family or friends, you know, just out there. So then I went out again, and that was the end of the dream. So I was like, for the longest time, I thought about it, you know, because I think you can learn something from your dreams, you know. And so for the longest time, I couldn't figure it out. So I started painting. And because I had all these visuals from this dream, you know. And so I painted different scenes that I remember from it. And this is one of those. And this is one where I'm kind of like looking back at the guys who are standing there with their shields and stuff, making sure I'm not going back. Anyway, in the midst of the most, I thought the best one of all, and the final painting of that series, it occurred to me right when I was about finished with it, because, you know, I was trying to figure out what it was this dream meant with each painting, you know. And it took 5 months to figure it out, but it did occur to me. So basically what it comes down to is, you know, you can lose your dreams. You can lose your dreams, but you can get them back. And, or find new ones, whatever. But the thing is, you have to find them yourself. You can't send someone out to do it for you. So, you know, I've had my place burglarized a few times, and I've, you know, lost things and had my car jacked and whatever. But you know, my Pops told me once, he's sitting here. Hi, Pops. He told me once that, you know, possessions are kind of funny. The more you acquire, the more you kind of become a slave to them. And you have to find a place to put them, store them, or display them, or whatever. So it's almost like we become we become slaves to our possessions, really. So that was kind of how I wanted to tie it in at the end of the talk, really, with this thing with slavery. But yeah, I don't know. I think that pretty much is about it. So I don't know. You know, I guess, you know, even in your lowest of lows, there's still hope, you know? So I'm proof of that. So I don't know, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Tell us about your painting.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I forgot to go into this one. So this was also another piece of repurposed mason board that, okay, so a friend of mine, she does this auction every year for the last several years to help homeless teenagers in this area. And last year I donated one of my masks for the cause, and it's to, you know, help raise funds for them for just their basic essentials, you know. One of my lows was being homeless. I was homeless for almost a year in California, and but it was also a time of enlightenment in a lot of ways too, and a lot of time to reflect. So this painting, I decided I was going to do a painting instead of a mask this year, because she was like, "Are you going to donate another mask?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll donate something." So I started painting this thing. I had this idea. She said, "Well, if you're going to do a painting," because I told her I was thinking about that. She's like, "Well, you might want to research Google images for some, you know, homeless teens or something." So that's what I did, and there was all kinds of interesting images in there, as you can probably imagine. But this one that really kind of hit home for me was this shot of this pair of feet that were all tattered and You could tell that they had been, they had some miles on those feet. But, so I did sort of my idea of that. It wasn't a copy, but, so that's kind of what came about. And I call this piece A Life Repurposed, Birth of an Artist. So it kind of is it's a personal piece. It was neat. It auctioned off to a buddy of mine bought it, so he was kind enough to lend it for this talk. So that's about it.
Jimmy, how are you deciding how much time to spend painting and how much time you're spending on your clay?
It's never a cognitive choice. It's just done when it's done. Oh, you mean in terms of how much time to allocate? To allocate?
Yeah.
It's really just a kind of flying by the seat of my pants. It's when I feel like doing it. So, I don't know. It's personal. It's a personal thing. And this is like, I feel like a fish out of water talking about it, really, frankly. But yeah.
The last part you said, when you keep too many pieces and it becomes clutter, I just want you to maybe elaborate on that a little more, because I was watching TV and I heard Steven Tyler of Aerosmith say, in order to keep a gift, you have to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was talking about that too.
Yeah.
So would that tie into what you meant when you ended?
Well, basically, well, sure. I mean, I agree with that. In terms of giving it, in order to get it, you have to give it away first, really. You know, that's true in a lot of things, but I don't know, I'm talking about maybe for all of us, you know. We seem to have a society that's so hell-bent on acquiring things and amassing great wealth and property. I don't know. Maybe there's other ways to determine wealth besides that, you know. And I think through art, that's one way you can find a lot of wealth within yourself.
Do you hold on to all your stuff?
No.
Okay. So it frees you up.
Pardon?
So it frees you up to do more, maybe.
Hopefully, yeah. Thanks for coming. So, yeah, that's about it. No more questions? Oh, yeah.
Jimmy, do you keep all your pieces? I mean, or do you ever destroy any pieces?
Yes. It's fun sometimes.
The reason I ask you that is because typically, you know, and I purchased some of your pieces because I like your work. But I never ask you for a specific. I just say, hey man, you got a mask, and then sooner or later you pop out with one and go, hey man, this one just spoke to me.
Yes.
And it's just amazing that it fits, you know.
Thanks.
And, so it's really, you know, it's really a blessing for me.
Thank you.
So I was just wondering if you had those.
Blessing for me too. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I do give away a lot of things. So this was a gift. This was a gift to a cause I believe in, and it raised a decent amount to help the cause, you know. And it wasn't about the amount, though. It was about the idea and the gesture of doing that for me. I got a lot out of that, you know. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Anything else? Hold some masks up? Okay. That's my mom back there. So here we are. So yeah, I don't know. See, how these masks came about was I wanted to, I was thinking about possibly have in a future exhibit, you know, some of my work. And I wanted to tie it in the clay work with the painting somehow. And I just started making this shape. The shield kind of started it out. I just started doing a shield, and then I saw a mask, a face in there, so that's kind of how that evolved. So, you know, it's a similar shape, you see? And so all of these were fired in gas here at TCC, except for this one was a wood-fired piece out of Steve Sauer's kiln. So.
And you hold up the chain, no?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's ceramic?
Yep. So, unless there's anything else. Yeah.
I don't really know much about it.
Please, no.
The fire, the wood fire.
Uh-huh.
Is it a special oven, or can you do this yourself at home with the?
No, it is a special kiln that I was fortunate enough to have a part in building a little bit, and been using it for several years. We fire it, used to be more often, like 3 or 4 times a year, but now it's like 1 or 2, sadly. But it's a lot of fun. The Clay Club here at TCC has partaken in a few of those firings, and I think everybody's really liked it. But it's fired only with wood. It takes at least usually about 2 days just to load the kiln. And I mean, there's a lot of information. I could go on and on about it, but
The effect, or does it change the texture or color or any? Why did they fire?
yes, that's a great question too. So yes, the answer is yes. You can get textural and you know, clay body change colors of variances, but it's never a guarantee, and it's kind of unpredictable, really, for the most part. So you get what they give you, the kiln gods, I mean. So, I don't know. Okay.
So, the face mask that you do, I was
They're actually more considered not face masks, but wall displays, because you see on the back, I put these little loops on just so you could hang them on the wall. So they're not really intended for wearing.
okay. Okay, so I was wondering, your creative process, if you studied those kinds of masks, and or like you see the face on there and then, you know, go with that.
Yeah, so no, I didn't really do a lot of studying on many masks of various cultures or anything. I just started, they looked like they would make a great mask, and I started using tools that I had on hand to make the impressions, and I kept it very simple, you know, like I had about 4 different tools I would use, and they were pretty rudimentary, you know, yeah, that's a great question. I carry a pad of paper with me all the time, and I do little drawings, you know, at various times. And so I would call upon those, you know, to give me ideas for maybe a mask. That kind of happens quite a bit.
So in objects, there's symbolism, and there's a meaning for symbolism, and I was wondering if those wall masks have some kind of ritual symbolic meaning to you.
Well, like I said, yes, they do. Because like I said, I want to kind of tie in the paintings with the ceramic work, so that's personally important to me. But I also want to bring in, you know, even if it's in an abstract fashion, some of these images that I scribble down on a pad, you know, and somehow can convey somehow what that may look like. I don't know, it doesn't always work, sometimes it does. But sometimes, you know, I don't have any ideas. And for, like, with this one, for example, it's kind of hard to see, but if you look right here, you'll see like an impression. That's my toes. I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I stepped on the clay with my bare foot, and then I saw a face in there, you know. So I don't know, sometimes, you know, you may not think you have an idea or something to go with, but, you know, you can get some happy accidents, you know, when you do this kind of stuff. And it doesn't, you know, it's, for me, it's not at all. I have an aunt who's a very good artist, and she lives back east in the Midwest, actually. But she told me once that, you know, enjoy the path, you know, enjoy it. It's not about the end result, but it's about the process, you know. So I've kind of tried to keep that close to my heart too, you know. So, you know, I made a pact with myself many years ago when I was in this lowest of lows that you can imagine. And I said, you know, if I ever, you know, somehow pull myself out of this hole that I got myself in, I'm gonna dedicate my life to being an artist, you know, because that's something I really cared about. And no matter what it took, I really was gonna do that. And I was gonna do something every single day for the rest of my days that somehow gets me and keeps me on that path, you know. I have to do something every day. So, whether it's write down an idea, or scribble a little drawing, or work for 10 hours in the studio. I mean, as long as it's something, you know, I feel like it's not all lost, you know. It's a good cause for me. So I think that's about it, you know. If you guys all aspire to be artists, I wish you the best, and I hope you do. I mean, thanks. I don't know why I was clapping. Everybody was clapping, so I started clapping. I was like, oh, this is a thing to do, and people are clapping. So that's about it. Thanks for coming. Sorry, I promised everyone lunch and stuff, but